There comes a moment when you realize you've changed, but no one else notices. It's not the world that's different. The same routine, the same faces, the same endless scroll of distractions. What's changed is you, quietly, underneath it all. Maybe it happened late at night when you couldn't sleep, staring at the ceiling and feeling a heaviness you couldn't name. Maybe it hit you in the middle of a crowded room, surrounded by laughter, but suddenly feeling like you didn't belong to the person you used to be. No one asks about this kind of transformation. No one sees the exact moment you stop pretending, the second you decide to let go of who you thought you had to be. You wake up and the old urgency to prove yourself is gone. The weight you've carried for years, other people's expectations, the stories you told to fit in, suddenly feels foreign, almost ridiculous. You wonder if anyone else senses it, this invisible shift, this quiet break from your old life. But no one does. No one is coming to recognize the real courage it takes to outgrow your own past. There's a particular ache in realizing you're the only witness to your own growth. The world keeps spinning and you keep moving through it, but something fundamental has been left behind. Are you allowed to grieve the old version of yourself? Can you celebrate becoming someone new, even if nobody else claps for you? This is the loneliness of real change, the moment when you know you can't go back, even if you wanted to. What if you've crossed a threshold and there's no turning around? What if this quiet shift inside you is actually the most important thing that's ever happened in your life? If you've ever felt this ache, this clarity, then maybe you're already further along than you think. Maybe this is where your real story finally begins. Some changes in life happen loudly. Everyone notices, everyone asks, everyone comments, but the most profound transformation often arrives without a sound. You start to see it in how you respond to things that used to rattle you. The world outside hasn't shifted, same old routines, same familiar dramas, but something inside you has loosened. You sit in your usual coffee shop, surrounded by the same noise, the same music, the same people scrolling on their phones. Yet there's a lightness in your chest, a calm that you can't quite explain. It's as if you've put down an old weight, one you'd been carrying so long you forgot what it felt like to walk free. When did it happen? Was it a single moment or a gradual softening you barely noticed until now? Or maybe it only arrived after you gave up the fight with yourself, stopped trying to become something for everyone else. What if this shift wasn't a sign that the world finally accepted you, but that you've quietly accepted yourself? This quiet transformation is almost always invisible. You could tell people, but they might not understand. Change like this isn't flashy. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need witnesses. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the most important turning points in life are the ones you live through alone, when no one is watching. Are you willing to honor that shift, even if nobody else does? Can you trust the feeling of quiet confidence that grows when you stop needing outside validation? Most people spend their lives clinging to what's familiar. They'd rather circle the edges of discomfort than walk straight through it. But what if the peace you're searching for only waits on the other side of the very thing you're avoiding? At some point, if you want to change for real, you have to step into that dark room inside yourself, the room you've been avoiding for years. You know the one. The locked closet in the back of your mind where you've stashed old fears, memories, and disappointments. Everyone has a room like that. Few have the courage to open the door. It's unsettling to face what you've hidden. Most would rather turn up the volume on life and drown out the call from within. But there comes a day when ignoring that room is no longer an option. This is when your personal unconscious, as Jung described it, begins to speak louder than your excuses. And you, finally tired of pretending, choose to listen. Picture this. You get home from work. The sun's already set. You pull into your driveway, but instead of heading inside, you turn off the engine and sit in silence. No music, no phone, just you, the hum of the city outside, and the feeling that you're finally letting yourself breathe. In that darkness, for the first time in a long time, you're not running from anything. You're not hiding. You're just being. You let the stillness hold you. And in that space, something deep inside you shifts. Not dramatically, but enough for you to notice that you're no longer afraid of your own company. Facing yourself is rarely comfortable. It's easier to keep performing for the world, to stay busy, to fill the day with distractions. But the truth is, peace can't be found in a world that keeps you chasing approval. Real peace arrives when you stop looking outside for it and finally listen to the answers you've carried within all along. Think about the things that used to keep you awake at night. The unread message from someone who never replied. The way someone looked at you in a meeting. The nagging sense that you were always one step behind, always needing to catch up. What happens when those things start to lose their hold on you? When the drama fades and the urge to fix, control, or prove something just dissolves into the background? That's when you realize your peace was never tied to other people's reactions. The storm was always inside you. And now that it's gone quiet, you finally get to feel what life is like without carrying everyone else's stories on your back. What would happen if you stopped waiting for someone else to notice your growth? If you stopped needing permission to change or approval to let go of your old roles? What if you didn't have to justify your transformation to anyone, not even to yourself? You might find that the need for control, the urge to micromanage every detail of your life, starts to fade. You might discover that the questions you've been chasing have quieter answers than you ever expected. The world hasn't changed, but you're no longer a prisoner of its noise. Transformation comes at a cost, and sometimes it means losing what you thought you couldn't live without. Friendships drift, old identities fall away. The scaffolding you built to hold yourself up gets taken apart, piece by piece. There's grief in that loss. Grief for versions of yourself you had to outgrow, for dreams that no longer fit, for relationships that couldn't make the journey with you. But there's also a strange relief in the emptiness that remains. Imagine cleaning out a cluttered room in your house. At first, it feels wrong to throw anything away. Each item comes with its own story, its own weight. But as you let go, bit by bit, the space begins to clear. Only then do you see what actually matters, what's worth keeping, what was just noise and distraction all along. Sometimes it's not until you stand in an empty room that you realize what you truly value. If everything familiar disappeared, what would be left inside you? What are the few things you would never throw away, no matter what? This process isn't just about losing, it's about returning. When the layers fall away, you find yourself. Not the self built on old patterns or borrowed expectations, but the quiet, resilient self that survives every storm. The one who doesn't need to perform, defend, or explain anymore. This is the self that finally feels real. When you come out the other side of this inner work, you move through life differently. You become a quiet anchor in a world full of storms. People might not notice at first, but they feel it. Your calm changes the room. You don't have to say a word. Your presence does the work. It's like being the only still point in a subway car at rush hour, the silent reassurance that not everything is chaotic, not everyone is lost. You might not realize it, but this kind of presence is rare. You become a quiet light at the end of the street, steady, unwavering, visible to anyone who needs a moment of calm. Sometimes you find that others are drawn to you, not because you're flashy or loud, but because you offer a kind of peace they didn't know they were searching for. And you, in your own way, become a thread in something larger, a collective movement of people waking up to their own lives, quietly supporting each other without fanfare. This is where Jung's idea of the collective unconscious comes to life. You are not just an individual navigating your private pain. You are part of a wider web, a network of souls who have also chosen to grow through silence, through facing the dark, through letting go. You are not alone in your journey, even if it sometimes feels that way. So maybe this is what maturity really looks like. Living in the open, but rooted in your own truth. Becoming a silent beacon in the world. Allowing yourself to hold space for others simply by holding space for yourself. Maybe it's the quiet people, the ones who have faced themselves and come out softer, who make the biggest difference. Maybe, just maybe, that person is you. There's a point on every journey where you stop running, where the exhaustion of pretending, striving, and proving finally breaks. Maybe you expected that arrival to feel glorious, dramatic, some kind of celebration. But the truth is, awakening rarely feels like a triumph. It feels more like silence. It feels like stopping in the middle of the noise and realizing you have nothing left to chase, nothing left to defend. The deepest shift doesn't happen when you reach a goal, but when you finally let go of the game altogether. You realize there's nothing left to perform, no story you have to uphold. You stand still at the crossroads, every direction open, but for the first time, you're not searching for the right path. You're not looking for a new mask, a new version of yourself to inhabit. You're just here, fully, with no need to run. It's a strange freedom, this ordinariness. The paradox is that by letting go of the need to be special, to be understood, to be anything other than what you are right now, you finally discover a kind of depth you couldn't have reached through effort. It's like wandering a city at night, every street leading somewhere, but only when you stop chasing directions and stand quietly at an empty intersection do you feel the comfort of being home. The city hasn't changed, only your sense of belonging has. What would your life look like if you gave up the roles you've played for so long? If you let go of the old armor, the need to be strong, the urge to always have answers? What if you could breathe without calculating your next move, without rehearsing the right thing to say? Who would you be if you didn't have to keep proving that you matter? This is the real threshold, not becoming someone new, but returning to the person you were before the world told you who you should be. It's the moment you realize that the peace you've been seeking was never lost, just buried beneath layers of expectation and fear. The real power comes not from becoming, but from remembering. You were never meant to live your life on the run, lost in other people's maps, measuring yourself against standards that never fit you. So ask yourself honestly, if you weren't performing, if there was nothing left to protect, what would your ordinary life feel like? What would you finally allow yourself to feel, to want, to grieve, to celebrate? Who would you be if you stopped searching for yourself and simply stood still long enough to recognize you were always here? The city at night holds countless roads, each one offering a story, a destination, a dream. But sometimes the only way home is to stop running, to stand quietly in the middle of your own life and realize this is it. This is what it means to arrive. Maybe the real journey begins the moment you realize you no longer need anyone else to confirm your worth. Maybe what matters most is the quiet certainty that you are enough, even if no one ever points it out, even if you're the only one who knows what you've become. You don't have to tie up every loose end. You don't have to reach a final answer. Some truths live best in the silence that follows a moment of clarity, a silence only you can recognize. Maybe tomorrow life will rush in again. Maybe you'll get caught up in the old habits, the noise, the routine. But if there was even one moment today when something broke open, when you glimpsed yourself in a new way, let that be enough. Sometimes a single quiet shift is more powerful than a lifetime of loud accomplishments. Let yourself rest in that space for a while. Give yourself permission to hold on to whatever insight rose up in you, even if it's small, even if it disappears again when the world gets busy. You don't have to prove anything, not even to yourself. You're allowed to begin again each day. You're allowed to forget and to remember. The journey doesn't end here, it just grows deeper every time you return to this place inside you. So if there's a word, a memory, or an image that stayed with you after listening, hold on to it. If you want, you can share it below, not for anyone else, but as a quiet reminder to yourself of the person you are becoming. Sometimes that's all it takes. A single word to carry you home. A single moment to remind you that you've never really been lost.